The road of seeking the final spiritual master are the only way by which you can obtain pure devotion and service. Allow down to his lotus feet the great honor and his grace pointing across the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified with words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is devotion and mercy, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us, and give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame spread above all the believers. They shall be the Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Haribol. Gaura Premanande. Do you have the Shrimad Bhagavatam? Oh. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna, thank you for being here, for the opportunity also to speak on Bhagavatam. We are speaking from Canto 4, chapter 22, verse 53. Okay. Evam Adhyatma Yogena Karmanyanu-samacharam Putram utpadayam asa Pancharchishyatma sammatam Evam adhyatma yogena Karmanyanu-samacharam Putram utpadayamasa Pancharchishyatma samatam Evam adhyatma yogena Karmanyanu-samacharam Putram utpadayam asa Pancharchishyatma samatam. Please chant.
Evam adhyatma yogena
Karmanyanu-samacharam Putran utpadayam asa Pancharchishyatma sammatam
Evam adhyatma yogena Karmanyanu-samacharam Putran-upadayamasa Pancharchishyatma sammatam Evam adhyatma yogena
Karmanyanu-samacharam Putran-utpadayamasa
Pancharchishyatma sammatam
Evam adhyatma yogena
Karmanyanu-samacharam Putram-utpadayamasa Pancharchishyatma samatam
Evam adhyatma yogena
Evam adhyatma yogena
Anusamacharan Putranupadayamasa Panchachishyatma samatan
Vaishnavis, any of you would like?
Evam adhyatma yogena
karmanyanusamachara
putranutpadayamasa pancharchishyatma samatan
Evam adhyatma yogena karmanyanusamachara putranutpadayamasa Panchachishyatma samatam. Thank you. So word by word, evam, thus, adhyatma, adhyatma yogena, by the means of bhakti yoga, karmani, activities, anu, always, samacharam, executing, putram, do you know what is that? Anyone? You know, sons, yeah. Sons. Utpadayam asa, begotten. Pancha, that you also know, I think. Pancha, 5. Yeah. Archishi, in his wife. Archi, in his wife Archi. That's what is it? Sorry. Atma, on. Samatam, according to his desire. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Being situated in the liberated position of devotional service, Prithu Maharaj not only performed all fruitive activities, but also begot 5 sons by his wife Archi. Indeed, all his sons were begotten according to his own desire. Purport. As a householder, Prithu Maharaj had 5 sons by his wife Archi, and all these sons were begotten as he desired them. They were not born whimsically or by accident. How one can beget children according to one's own desire is practically unknown in the present age, Kali Yuga. In this regard, the secret of success depends on the parents' acceptance of the various purificatory methods known as samskaras. The first samskara, the Garbhadana samskara, or child-begetting samskara, is compulsory, especially for the higher castes, the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, sex life which is not against religious principles is Krishna himself. And according to religious principles, when one wants to beget a child, he must perform the Garbhadana samskara before having sex. The mental state of the father and mother before sex will certainly affect the mentality of the child to be begotten. A child who is begotten out of lust may not turn out as the parents desire. As stated in the Shastras, Yatha Yonir Yatha Bijam. Yatha Yoni indicates the mother, and Yatha Bijan indicates the father. If the mental state of the parents is prepared before they have sex, the child which they will beget will certainly reflect their mental condition. It is therefore understood by the words Atma Samatam that both Prithu Maharaj and Archie underwent the Garbhadana purificatory process before begetting children, and thus they begot all their sons according to their desires and purified mental states. Prithu Maharaj did not beget his children out of lust, nor was he attracted to his wife for sense gratificatory purposes. He begot the children as a grihasta for the future administration of his government all over the world. Maybe we can just repeat together the translation again. Being situated in the liberated position of devotional service, Prithu Maharaj not only performed all fruitive activities, but also begot 5 sons by his wife Archie. Indeed, all his sons were begotten according to his own desire. Om Agyanat Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Can you help me with the Mangala Charana? How does it start? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatade Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So as you can hear, it's about the science of begetting children in Krishna consciousness. And yeah, I feel very unqualified to speak about this. I was thinking Sri Chaitanya Dev Prabhu would be so much more qualified person. But we can always speak from the words of the Acharyas of Srila Prabhupada, so that's what I will try to do. And also from what I heard from Vaishnavas, from those who have children who went through this samskara, and maybe you can also participate. I apologize already because I didn't prepare so much for this class, so I would really appreciate if you can also participate. So, yeah, here Srila Prabhupada is explaining how this verse, this is actually Maitreya speaking, I believe. Yeah, the King Prithu was speaking with the 4 Kumaras, and now, yeah, Maitreya is speaking, and he's basically glorifying Prithu Maharaj. And Prithu Maharaj was, of course, exemplary, as we have heard so many times. But here we are specifically hearing about how he was also exemplary in begetting children with his wife Archie. So he begot 5 sons from his wife, and they were all, Prabhupada emphasized how they were all begotten as he desired, as Prithu Maharaj desired. So it was not like a, accident or whimsically, as Srila Prabhupada says here. Yeah, and I was just reflecting on that, how many of us can say that, our families went through some samskara, maybe a few of us, and if you think of the world today, who knows about this, right? The population just doesn't know that there is actually a science, there's a method how to beget children, so that these children will be, nice people, decent people, elevated people, and that will also help the society, to elevate itself towards the ultimate goal, of course, of the self-realization, right? So they were not born by accident, so he really, there was intention in it. And Srila Prabhupada says here that the success depends on the parents' acceptance of various purificatory methods known as samskaras. And there are several samskaras, right? This is the first one. So before the child is even conceived, then there is this samskara. This word, samskara, I was just looking up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it means purification, purificatory method, as Prabhupada explains. He also says that samskara means educational process to elevate oneself. Just like a child is sent to school, college, for elevating him to a higher standard of life by knowledge, similarly, these samskaras are also like that. One must undergo the samskaras, the reformatory method, and act in life. Janmana jayate sudro samskarat bhaved vijo. One takes birth from the father and mother, but one is considered a shudra, or a lower grade person by birth. Birth is not everything. Samskara means culture. One has to take his rebirth by culture, by education, by knowledge. That is called cultural birth. So, yeah, this is a means to elevate oneself, basically, to help us purify ourselves towards the ultimate goal of life. I also found another, maybe more literal meaning of the word samskara. I'm not an expert, but I found this meaning. I hope it's correct. That it means also purifying, refining, transforming, polishing. So I really like that meaning, of refining, polishing. So that's basically what we are trying to do. We are trying to refine, polish ourselves. We are already, by nature, the soul is Satchidananda, is pure. It's completely part and parcel of Krishna, and it's just like very much covered, right? As we learn, by many layers of lust, as we're going to speak, of misconceptions, and basically it's this lust that is the greatest obstacle. Yeah. We have this pure love of God for God naturally, but then that becomes lust when perverted, right? When we come to this material world, that becomes lust. We'll speak a bit more about that later. And also that shows the importance of this samskara shows the importance of the consciousness, right? I mean, we are trying to develop here a certain consciousness, also Krishna consciousness. And just as at the time of death, the consciousness that we have is also determining our future position. Yeah, what is our next birth? In the same way here in the conception also, the consciousness that the parents have at that moment is very important, as Prabhupada emphasizes. So this whole samskara, as I can understand, is to prepare the parents' consciousness, that now you are preparing you are inviting a soul, and you want to invite a very elevated, ideally we want that, we want to invite elevated souls, we want to invite good children who will become, how do you say, contributing members of society, in a positive way, right? And yeah, I remembered the example of, what is it? There is in the scriptures the example of the opposite case. For example, Diti and Kashyapa, the way they conceived. Diti, at some point, she asked Kashyapa for union, and then Kashyapa Muni. It was basically an improper time, and it wasn't improperly done, and their consciousness was not so prepared, and children that were born were not very great, as we know. On the other hand, we have Devahuti and Kapila. Kardama Muni, yeah, and they had Kapila Muni as a son. So there was the opposite example. Shri Chaitanya Dev Prabhu is here. I was saying that you would be so much more qualified to speak about this. I'm happy you're here. Anyway, yeah, this samskara is exactly to prepare the consciousness of the parents, as I said, to really invite a soul that will, bring elevation, be Krishna conscious, as Prabhupada says. So yeah, everything comes from Krishna, and Srila Prabhupada says this also here, that also sex life is also from Krishna, coming from Krishna. The sex life, not just in any way, not just like animals, but according to religious principles. That is Krishna himself. It says in Bhagavad Gita. And then Prabhupada goes on to say that, okay, maybe before that I just wanted to cite also the example of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I was remembering, I think Damodar Prasad and Prabhu had mentioned him to me yesterday, and somehow I was really reflecting on it. If you can think of an example, I couldn't think of a better example in our lineage of such a grihasta. He had 14 children. He had 14 children. He was such a busy man, He was so many responsibilities. I mean, we saw already how his schedule was. It was like it was superhuman schedule, from morning to evening. He was always engaged in some talk about surrender. To me, that was really, the life of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was completely engaged 24 hours. It's an incredible example. And he had 14 children, and one of them was one of our great acharyas. You know who? Remember who? Yeah? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Yes. Thank you. So he requested, he actually prayed for a ray of Vishnu, for an assistant that could help him in that mission to spread the Krishna consciousness, and because he was so qualified, and because he prepared himself with his wife was Bhagavati, right? His wife, I remember her name was that. So they had wonderful children, and one of them such an elevated soul as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then Prabhupada goes on to say that, a child who is begotten out of lust may not turn out as the parents desire. So, and I thought of speaking about this topic of lust because I think that's very relevant here. And it's something we can all, maybe not all of us will have children, but we all need to endeavor to conquer this great obstacle, which is lust. And we see here, Pritha Maharaj is the example of someone who had no lust. It is said in the purport that he did not beget his children out of lust, nor was he attracted to his wife for sense gratification. So he begot the children as a grihasta for the future administration of his government all over the world. So it was actually a service for him, right, that he was performing by begetting children. There was no selfish desire for enjoyment. Okay, now I'm going to enjoy. So it was really in a spirit of serving, not pleasing himself, right? We hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita that lust is it's desire, selfish desire to please my own senses, right? But love is when I want to please Krishna's senses. And this is a very big topic, maybe, but I just thought we could look at Bhagavad Gita, this section in chapter 3, where Krishna is talking to Arjuna about lust, right? So that's chapter 3, text 36 until text 41. So I just would like to read just the translations of these verses. So Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this lust. Thus the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. So it's a very nice sequence, I find, of the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is explaining here to Arjuna that this is the great obstacle that we have in this world, is lust. It's basically this selfish desire, this desire for sense enjoyment. And it's the root cause, in the end, of why we're here, right? Because we wanted to come and enjoy. So, and this is there are different degrees of lust. Different living entities are covered by different degrees of this lust. And the human being is the one who has the lesser degree. Then you have after animals and beasts, and then you have trees. They're the most covered. It's very, very difficult existence, I assume. It's really, they're really very low consciousness. And so the human beings, that's why they have a chance. We have a chance in this human form of life to conquer this, to overcome this, and get back to our natural position. So then this lust is said here in Bhagavad Gita that it is never satisfied and burns like fire. So it's something that, if we feed it, it will only grow. It's never going to be, okay, I do this now and then it's going to be okay. No, you do it to one and then it will always want more and more and more. We were discussing this in Bhakti Shastri, and one Prabhu was giving there an example of he was saying how, I see that how it starts with a small thing for me, like I go to I'm addicted to watching news. So I watch one, but then I see I'm watching for 1 hour afterwards, and then I always want to watch more and more and more. So I thought it was a good example, like I think we can all relate to that, you start, okay, I can do this one thing, I think it's okay, and then you just start, going to that more and more. And you can't really control after a while. So the lust is seated on the senses. That's where these are the sitting places, as said in Bhagavad Gita. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence, they're the sitting places of lust. And in this way, lust will cover our knowledge, our real knowledge, right? Of who we are, right? In relation to Krishna. So then Krishna is advising us to conquer lust by how? Do you remember what was the prescription? I read it here in the Bhagavad Gita. How do you conquer lust? How do we conquer lust? What is the means to do that? What would you say?
Following the regulatory principles.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, and then when we follow the principles, we are regulating our senses, right? By following these principles. So that's why also the principles are there. They're helping us to regulate. That's the key words, regulation. Regulation is the means to conquer lust. And of course, this is a process. Yes, sorry. You were sure. You wanted to say something?
Just the same comment, like the
Yeah.
comment. Oh, I just said, I heard from in one lecture, Narottam Das Thakur, he's sharing his plan of how he's going to exchange his enemies for benefits, like how he's going to exchange pride and lust and everything into Krishna service. So he was saying that his way to overcome kama or lust was to desire, because kama actually means desire, but change your desires for relationship with Krishna. So if you do a service that you love for Krishna, and you're engaged in that tendency of passion and love.
Thank you so much. That's actually the greatest way to. That's our engagement in Krishna consciousness. That's how we do it. We engage everything in Krishna's service, and we engage our desire. We desire for Krishna, right? And yeah, in the beginning stages, and we are trying to regulate our senses, but simultaneously, yes, we are doing that. Ultimately, this is it. It's to what's the word? Dovetail. Yeah, to dovetail. Our everything we desire, everything we like. Yeah, we wish that now for Krishna. We desire for Krishna to serve Him. Thank you so much. That's a very good point. Okay, and yeah, and as I was saying, this is, of course, it's a process, right? This is not something that's gonna come like, tomorrow. It's an ongoing thing. We're all practicing this every day. So, yeah, the idea is not to, I hope no one is feeling discouraged by this class. Like, it's not my intention to make you feel bad or anything, but yeah, I just wanted to convey this, that, it's a process, it's gradual. That's what we're all going through. And slowly, getting there. And yeah, we may fail, then we try again, and we try again, and we try again. Because this is something really deeply rooted, right, in us, this selfish desire, this sense enjoyment, you know. So, yeah, we have to be also patient, compassionate with ourselves, and continue, stick to the process, stick to the principles, as Simon Prabhu said, and as Govinda Vallabha said. This is actually the key, to just desire for Krishna. So, I don't know if you could think of examples, maybe you could say something that you think you could offer to Krishna, something you can do, something you like. Maybe you can just think for yourself, what can I do for Krishna? What do I have to offer to Krishna? What do I... what do I like very much? What do I enjoy? And how can I engage that? How can I offer that to Krishna? You can make this is, I think, a good way to reflect, and also a good way to find maybe our place in the movement, or our service. If anyone wants to share, I would love to hear. But if you don't want to share, I understand. It's okay. I really like, for example, I really like beautiful things, and I really try then to make the deities beautiful, and I really like that service. For me, it really helps me a lot. For me to look at a beautiful darshan, it's like, wow, it's really okay. Here they are. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai. Gauranita ki jai. Yeah, it's so attractive, and the devotees are, happy to see the deities, and Srila Prabhupada wanted us to dress the deities so beautifully that we would be so attracted to Krishna, we wouldn't want to look at any other beauty, And I find it's just a beautiful meditation to, think how we're going to dress, which colors we're going to use, and it's such a mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So, yeah, I'm sure you all have your offering, and it's just a matter of time and practice and finding out what is your offering for Krishna. I will stop here. It's a bit of a short class, but if you have some questions or comments, or if I said something maybe not so correct, please, I would be happy to hear. The mic is there, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you much, Chief, for the class. I just wanted to add this comment of Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. We put it very pointedly. I think it's a good meditation. What also Govinda Vallabha Mataji said, how we should cultivate, instead of cultivating endless desires, we should desire the endless, or the unlimited. Instead of cultivating unlimited desires, we should desire for the unlimited, for Krishna. So just, like a short kind of way of remembering this point of always trying to remember and desire for the unlimited. Then another point, I want to ask a question. So it is interesting, this point of controlling, or being able to get the child you want into this world. I think it's very much in the heads of many people, even nowadays, as scientists also. They try, but they cannot do it. But then also we see in the Vaishnav, in our tradition, the great acharyas such as Advaita Acharya or Nityananda Prabhu, their children, they were not all Krishna conscious. So how can we explain that, and what does it mean to us? doesn't mean we shouldn't even have children because it's so difficult. Is it just the age of Kali, or what is your outlook on that?
I was also talking to Nanda yesterday about this. We were mentioning how even Srila Prabhupada, right, his children didn't really turn out, so like Prabhupada, for example. And I mean, one factor I would say is that soul also has a karma, has a certain destiny, that has a free will also. That soul has that great influence. The parents may also prepare, do the samskara, give them great atmosphere, great influence, Krishna conscious education, but ultimately it's not like a guarantee 100%, as I understand it, that soul will turn out, like a saintly. We create the conditions for inviting, a good soul, elevated soul. We try our best, ultimately, we do everything. We prepare our consciousness, then there's the whole education that the parents give in Krishna consciousness. But ultimately, it's no guarantee, And imagine if you don't do that, then I would say it's a guarantee of the opposite, So that's my understanding. I'm not sure. Nanda, maybe you can correct me if I'm not.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because technically we are advertising that we know how to get good children. We have the product. You want a good kid, we can supply it. You do this, and you have it. But then we have these instances where great personalities have children who are not devotees. Well, one thought which came, and I remember this was from the class of Bhaktivedanta Purna Swami. Because here, when you do kind of karma kanda, basically when you deal with the material laws of the universe, they're very intricate, and you follow. It's like mathematics. I do this, that comes out like this. Because you're really just kind of interacting with the subtle laws. But in this case, we're talking about devotees that didn't become devotees. So we're talking about bhakti. And bhakti is completely another realm. And it's not mathematics. Otherwise, mathematics would be greater than bhakti. Bhakti is independent. Karma, bhakti doesn't depend on karma. Otherwise, you would say, well, I'm just going to force my kid to be a devotee. Not possible. So I guess in a realm of bhakti, then you have another set of rules, principles, which apply. Krishna maybe has a need of something else to teach, and so on. So.
Yeah.
Combination free will plus bhakti together becomes right.
Yeah, I was thinking also the parents, right? They also have their karma, and maybe, okay, we're talking about devotees. Then maybe Krishna, because Krishna is taking care of the devotees' karma. Like he will give some, maybe if needed, if that will help that devotee. Right? So maybe in some cases he's giving, maybe not so. We could say difficult situations also, or children who are not so Krishna conscious as the parents expected, and I think also that plays a role. The parents, what they are supposed to go through also to grow, and that soul also. But I guess the idea here is that from our part, we do everything we can, like we do the samskara, we ask the blessings, we ask, we prepare ourselves and we do what we can. We pray to Krishna, and what is the result then is Krishna. Krishna will send what is best for us. I think there's this element also of trust in Krishna. But I really like what you said also. That this is also bhakti. It's a different realm. It's not so, maybe not so exact. Like, I do this and I will get this result. It's like, it's not so clear cut, right? Like guarantee, there's no guarantee ultimately. We're just trying our best. We're creating the good conditions, right? Good, but ultimately it's, yes.
Because the goal is different.
Because
in Karma Kanda is very specific goal. I want to go to Svargaloka, for example. So it's very tuck. But in our case, our goal is going to Goloka. So how Krishna will arrange that? He might give you 2 nice kids and 1 really pain in the butt. And that will help you to go to Goloka.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's because that's the point, huh? Krishna will give you what's best for you, to do what, right? To attain the ultimate goal of life, That's the difference. What's the goal? Yeah. Thank you. You wanted to say something?
Very well. Yeah, I like the point of the free will. I think that's like Lucas Prabhu said, like it is like maybe the main factor of why it's not guaranteed, because Krishna doesn't interfere anybody's free will. So you can give people everything, but ultimately they have to choose. It's like most devotee children, we see that happening, They grew up in the best environment. I'm sure everybody tried their best, but ultimately it's their choice to be a devotee or not. And the samskaras, the point of the samskaras, it's so wonderful. I see like how the Vedic culture is so focused on the change or the impact of consciousness. It's all about the consciousness, the whole system. Every samskara, actually, even like shaving the child's head. I've heard that the meaning of that is to take out the impurities which the parents had. Even though they did the garbhadan, they could have some impurities, so they shaved that impurity off, the first hair that grows. So it's just so wonderful, and I just feel that we can see nowadays how people are admiring more and more all the Vedic sciences because of this aspect of the consciousness, like mantras, yoga, Ayurveda, astrology.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking at you, as you grew up in Mayapur, and I guess you saw many children, right, who had that environment, had everything, and they still maybe chose something else. Right? That's a good example. And the importance of consciousness and purification, right? These 2 things are always there. Our whole, the whole point is that we want to purify our consciousness, right? Purify our senses, purify our existence, to bring our consciousness back to. I remember watching even once a cartoon. It was like a Krishna cartoon, and it was, this kind of demon, going crazy everywhere. And then there was the sage, someone trying to counteract the demon, and the way the demon was destroyed, it was like a huge bell that rang, and that vibration of the bell kind of affected the demon. He just came kind of like a person coming back to his senses, and he just like realized, what am I doing, and then he became like completely transformed. And I was just thinking, I found it so interesting that it's like, we are yeah, maybe in a disturbed condition, you could say, or diseased, how Prabhupada says. We are not aware of who we are. Yeah, we are confused. Yeah, we are confused, and we are acting in these, strange ways, and trying to do things for ourselves, and trying to enjoy, and then comes the saintly person, and brings us the mantra, brings us the the sound vibration, and then we're like, oh, okay, we'll wake up, and yeah, it's gradually, of course, we are waking up as we continue, and then we will one day just realize that what am I doing? This is not me. This is not who I am. I'm actually this soul. Yeah, I really liked this cartoon. It really stayed with me, this image of how, this maybe demoniac, as we say, tendencies, and this is like a perverted reflection, as lust is perverted reflection of love. It's just someone who is confused. We are confused. We forgot who we are, and we just need to be awakened, to reawaken that love. If anyone else wants to say anything or ask, or yes.
I was just wondering, if the child doesn't become a devotee, like how does the parent, even if he did everything, how does he not feel guilty, or like he doesn't have this feeling like he let Prabhupada down? Because I'm reading Prabhupada Shikshamrita, and there I feel like Prabhupada is very strongly putting out the point that do everything you can and to make the child Krishna conscious, and you shouldn't even become a parent if you cannot liberate them. So how to deal with that?
Yeah, that must be a very difficult experience. I can't really imagine. What I can say is that, as we were discussing, I think that, there's the free will of that person also. That as a parent, I guess the duty is to do what you can, as you said, do whatever you can. So you prepare yourself before conception. You raise the child in the most Krishna conscious way you can. But ultimately, I think the parents must be detached enough to accept also if the child doesn't turn out, the most Krishna conscious child, because ultimately there is that free will, there is that, and this element we discussed also of maybe that's a situation that is there also for growth, purification in Bhakti Yoga. It's very, I find it very tricky, difficult to judge a situation. I mean, the parents, I guess that's it, you can only do your best and try and do everything that's recommended, but the result is up to Krishna, right? I don't know if anyone wants to, yeah.
I just wanted to mention that by observing many families and children, and also in my own family, that often when children are very against what the parents say, and really against everything, then it's, or even not that much, but if they're against what actually is then there to learn for the parents is to not control, because trying to control everything and every situation, that's the poison, right, poison for bhakti. So or especially when there's like one of these examples, they have two nice and one very bad child. There's a very specific purpose behind that,
always, which leads to the ultimate goal. So in that sense, yeah, even the demons are allowed in this world, and Satan, because they have a purpose. If they have free will or not, or if they're conditioned, that's another question. But ultimately, from Krishna's perspective, they have they're allowed, not even allowed, they're even asked to do that in a way, in a higher sense.
Okay. I'm not sure if I understood everything, but what I understood is that you're saying that these children who may not turn out Krishna conscious, or they are ultimately, this is Krishna's having a higher purpose here somehow.
It's Krishna's arrangement, because what the children, they force us to surrender controls and to really surrender to Krishna and say, okay, Krishna, I did everything, but it's yours. So yeah, so even if it's so hard, sometimes it's the last step to really get there. So, and also I figured out that when parents do that, then suddenly when there's some point in their youth where parents surrender control, then suddenly the children turn nice and make a complete turn. So there you can see that's how it works.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a nice point. Yeah, that you do. It's like in anything else in Krishna consciousness, right? We are trying our best. We do everything we can. We put all of 100%. But ultimately the result is up to Krishna, right? Like we have to surrender that control also, and it's a really good point, yeah, too. Thank you. Okay, Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Yeah, it is. Just covered it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's also a certain just remember that it's also like Krishna, because just remember this person, because we remember that one. It's not about the lasting desire, it's just to remember something about Krishna. But passing with preaching or something.
To remember Krishna, yes, yes, or
It's a service, yeah. Remembering. Hearing, chanting, remembering. Yeah, I was thinking about that the first time I heard this class. I was in the Gopika Devi retreat. And he was making us think like, what do you want to think of Krishna? So it's like, I was thinking, what would be something that I would be able to put all my energy, all my desires, and now that I've been like, engaged throughout the years in this idea. Well, yeah, I think maybe the astrology will be a bit mixed. I mean, I like preaching, obviously, and that's connected our mission, outreach. So I don't know. I feel like creating events and different opportunities for, especially younger people, especially people like her. I really like people like her. I think they're awesome. And they're super ready. You know, they're super right. Because they only need a little bit of the right words. Yes.
course, Krishna lifts us wherever we are. But I feel like the yoga guides, they have a good chance in a way that they have already.
One second, now that you ask me, I maybe have a different idea. It's like my work field, I like to work with them. I like to work for Krishna. Actually, I would like to help the Gurukulis. Because of actually my mission. I call it.
Because of your experience.
I'm a Gurukuli myself, and I know the weaknesses are like helping Krishna lecture, the Bodhi shoulder to become devotees.
And you have these difficult experiences.
Yeah.
So you can understand.
Yeah.
What they go through.
And I understood the problems also the Gurukul and the parenting, I'm so aware of that. Yeah, I grew up in Gurukul. Not small, they from small to 18.
Yeah, because there is a new school, there is something announced to create a new school.
Where?
The nature school.
Really?
Yeah. But in the all things without them, they have God consciousness and not all have it. Well, actually they have a connection to God, but not all are like, for example, the vegetarian, the girls are. Yeah, this is one thing. And yeah, but that's not, it's actually a girl, she wants to do this school then. Yeah, it should be really a nature school to make concepts that the children have nature. And so this interreligious aspect, and that this not only is in the mind is there, but it can be at any place, any concept for school.
You're not inside classrooms, you're inside nature, like you're learning in nature, not inside concrete walls.
Yeah, for example, it could also be in a classroom, but the nature is special for children because yeah, they can go and very fast, like in the Japanese school in Russia. The most intelligent children in the Pecos schools. I've seen a documentary, I was crying because I was like, wow, they're so lucky, these children. I did not have it, but I'm so lucky that they have it like this. And they're so fast with abitur and contrast.
Like in Gurukul, we had Japa class for 45 minutes. They were all chanting, they were small. But then this 6-year-old girl's 5, 4. What's going to be the experience in 45 minutes? I was so worried. I said, we cannot continue like that. They're going to be burned out. They're going to be sleeping, they're going to be getting their kids, they're going to hate the Japa, right? So then I would do what I would do. I would go with the small kids, I'll make a circle with them without the time. And I was chanting and taking for them some different mentalities, different pastime, different prayer, we're chanting together, whatever. You know, taking like different. You cannot just like leave children like anything. You're too much on them, you leave them, like both is like
This is so important and true. Yeah, because when you grow up with travel, for example, you had the experience with mother like this.
yeah.
This really good impression on your life.
And like, you know, right? We are all mixed together, like, we have so much hope in the kids, but then it's, what's the point? We're also going to have that.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah, you get so much up to that point, but then you break the school.
And then we forget about it.
Yeah, I think it's very important. So,
Yeah. And the pastimes of Krishna is important.
and the group, those who went to Gurukul, I think they're the best to do that. So, you have your side experience. So,
Yes, there's a lot to it's sort of a positive change to, I mean, so many years the word God was like,
that sounds great.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare